Bella had a scary dream where she was in a crowd, trying to find someone, and then she saw her grandma. But then it turned out her grandma was her own reflection, and Edward was there too. It was all weird. Then her dad woke her up and gave her birthday presents, a camera and a scrapbook. She was worried about getting older, but her dad was just teasing her. At school, Bella's friends didn't remember it was her birthday, but Edward did. He gave her a ride in his fancy car and they kissed. But Edward saw they had to go to class, and he mentioned that Jacob wanted to talk to her later. When Jacob gives Bella a dreamcatcher as a gift, Edward feels a bit jealous. Bella explains that she can't give Edward anything in return, which makes him feel bad. Later, at school, Bella meets the rest of Edward's family. Alice gives her a gift and invites her to a birthday party that night. Bella agrees, but she realizes that Jasper, Edward's brother, used his special power to make her agree happily. During class, Edward talks to Bella about Romeo from the movie they're watching. He explains that he envies Romeo's ability to easily end his life, which humans can do but vampires can't. Bella is shocked and tells him never to say that again. When the teacher questions Edward about not paying attention, he responds by quoting a line from Romeo's speech. During class, Edward's quote from Romeo and Juliet impresses their teacher and silences him. Later, at Bella's birthday party at the Cullens' house, Edward shows her a painting of the Volturi, vampire royalty. He explains that they have strict rules, and breaking them can mean death. Edward worries about Victoria, a vampire who might come after him. Bella suggests he turn her into a vampire to avoid this, but Edward refuses. At the party, Bella receives gifts from the Cullens. Rosalie gives her a necklace, Emmett fixes her truck, and Carlisle and Esme give her a present. When Bella gets a paper cut, Jasper, who struggles with his thirst for human blood, lunges at her. Edward protects her, but Bella gets hurt. The sight of her blood tempts even the other vampires, so Edward has to take Bella away to keep her safe. After getting stitches from Carlisle, Bella asks him how he resists drinking human blood. He explains it's about practice and his desire to help people, even though he feels condemned. Bella doesn't understand, so Carlisle talks about the belief that vampires don't have souls. Bella realizes this is why Edward won't turn her into a vampire. Later, Edward drives Bella home and they discuss her desire to be turned into a vampire. Edward sees it as a tragedy, but Bella doesn't care about her soul. They exchange vows of love, but the next day, Edward tells Bella they have to leave Forks because people are noticing they don't age. Bella thinks he means they'll leave together, but he says she doesn't belong in his world and he doesn't want her to come. He leaves, and Bella is heartbroken, falling asleep in the woods where a huge wolf watches over her. Back at Bella's house, a search party forms to look for her, but Charlie's friend Harry doesn't seem to mind that the Cullens have left town. Meanwhile, Sam Yulee finds Bella in the woods and brings her back to Charlie. Despite being safe, Bella becomes deeply depressed and can't contact Edward. She writes emails to Alice that go undelivered and screams at night, worrying Charlie. He suggests she leave Forks for a change of scenery. To please him, Bella lies and says she's going shopping with Jessica. At the movies, Bella sees bikers who remind her of the ones Edward once protected her from. She imagines Edward warning her not to do anything reckless. Excited by the idea of seeing him again, she asks a biker for a ride, but Edward's warning keeps appearing. When she returns safely, Jessica is horrified, thinking Bella is either crazy or suicidal. Bella continues to pour her heart out in emails to Alice, describing the emptiness she feels inside. She reconnects with Jacob and asks for his help fixing up some old motorcycles. Jacob impresses her with his strength and they bond over the project. Bella meets Jacob's friends Quill and Embry, and they joke about Jacob calling her his girlfriend. Despite their friendship, Bella still struggles with nightmares. One day, while driving with Jacob, they spot members of the Quileute tribe cliff diving. Jacob is upset by them and refers to their leader, Sam, in a negative way. Once the bikes are ready, Bella and Jacob take them for a ride. Bella drives recklessly, hoping to see Edward's ghost again. She crashes, and Jacob tends to her injuries. Bella apologizes for her behavior, but Jacob reassures her and even compliments her appearance. In the school cafeteria, Bella hangs out with her friends, and they discuss recent hiker deaths and sightings of a large wolf. Mike asks Bella out to a movie, but she suggests a different one to avoid romance. They all agree to see Face Punch. At the theater, Jacob and Mike act awkwardly around each other. During the movie, Bella notices Jacob and Mike both trying to hold her hand, but she pulls away. Outside, Jacob tries to express his feelings for Bella, but she feels conflicted because of Edward. Mike leaves, feeling sick, and Jacob suddenly becomes feverish and agitated. He rushes off, leaving Bella confused about what's happening to him. Bella struggles with dreams of Edward and her growing feelings for Jacob. She tries to reach Jacob but learns he has mono. Feeling desperate, Bella goes to Jacob's house, where she finds him changed and distant. Jacob blames the Cullens for their problems and warns Bella to stay away. In her quest to see Edward again, Bella encounters Laurent, a vampire working for Victoria. Edward's ghostly presence warns her to lie, but Laurent threatens to kill her. Just as Bella thinks she's doomed, a pack of enormous wolves, including Jacob in wolf form, appears and chases Laurent away. A fierce battle ensues, leaving Bella shocked and unsure of what's to come. Bella rushes home to tell Charlie and Harry about the wolves she saw in the woods. Charlie decides to gather men from the reservation for a hunt, while Bella encourages him to go to the police station. She fears Victoria might come after her soon. That night, Jacob visits Bella and tries to explain what's happening with him. He urges her to remember the story he told her about the Cold Ones, vampires, but can't reveal more. Bella suggests they leave Forks together, but Jacob knows he's putting her in danger and leaves. The next day, Bella finds Jacob exhausted at home and confronts the Quileute boys. When Paul transforms into a wolf, Bella slaps him, triggering his transformation. Jacob arrives and fights Paul in his wolf form, leading Bella to run away. Jacob protects her and sends her to his fiancée Emily's house for safety. Before entering Emily's house, Jared and Embry warn Bella not to stare at Emily because of her scars. Inside, Emily greets Bella casually and they discuss their respective supernatural worlds. Emily serves muffins as the guys discuss werewolf stuff, like following their alpha, Sam. Sam, Paul, and Jacob arrive, and Paul apologizes for scaring Bella earlier. Bella and Jacob walk on the beach, where Jacob explains how encountering a vampire triggered his werewolf transformation. Bella expresses her concern about their actions, but Jacob insists it's not a choice. He tells her about their battles with vampires and assures her they can handle them. Bella warns Jacob about Victoria, but he brushes off her concerns and leaves to hunt vampires. Meanwhile, a group including Harry and Charlie searches for the wolves in the woods, while Bella plans to find a way to reconnect with Edward. In the woods, Victoria attacks Harry, but Jacob, in his wolf form, intervenes, saving him. However, Harry suffers a heart attack. Victoria flees, with Jacob and the Quileute pack chasing after her. Meanwhile, Bella arrives at the cliffs where she and Jacob had watched the others cliff dive. Edward appears to her, warning her not to jump, but Bella is determined to prove she can be reckless like a human. She leaps into the ocean but struggles against the waves. As she starts to sink, she sees Victoria approaching. Bella hits her head on the cliff wall and begins to drown. Jacob arrives just in time to save Bella, pulling her out of the water and performing CPR to revive her. Bella comes to, but Jacob informs her that Harry had a heart attack and died. Jacob drives Bella's truck, his body temperature warming her as she shivers. Worried about losing control like Sam did with Emily, Jacob expresses his fear of disappearing. Bella reassures him and they share a moment of intimacy, but Bella pulls away before things go too far. As she tries to leave the truck, Jacob senses a vampire nearby. Bella heads towards the Cullens' house, but Jacob warns her about crossing the treaty line. Inside, Alice is shocked to see Bella alive and reveals that Edward has distanced himself from them. She also senses werewolf scent and leaves Bella and Jacob alone. Bella and Jacob argue, their emotions running high. Jacob kisses her, but their moment is interrupted by a phone call from Edward. Learning that Bella is alive, Edward believes she's dead and decides to seek death himself. Bella is furious when she realizes Jacob didn't let her talk to Edward. She leaves with Alice. Alice and Bella board a Virgin America flight to Italy, where Alice reveals that Edward's attempt to seek death from the Volturi has been rejected. Alice hotwires a fancy yellow sports car at the airport, and they speed towards Volterra, the Volturi headquarters. Meanwhile, Edward meets with Keyes, Marcus, and Aron, who refuse his request to end his life due to his valuable abilities. Alice predicts that Edward will expose himself to humans during the Feast of St. Marcus, leading him to attempt to step into sunlight in the town square. Alice knows she can't intervene without Edward rushing into the process faster, so Bella, whose thoughts Edward can't read, must save him. Bella runs through the town, dodging red-cloaked figures, and arrives in the square just as Edward is about to step into the sunlight. She throws herself upon him, preventing his exposure. Inside a dark building, Bella tells Edward she can't let him go now that she's seen him again. Edward confesses his love for her, and they kiss as the Volturi arrive to summon them. Despite not breaking any laws, they are taken underground by the Volturi, where they encounter a receptionist who wishes to become a vampire. Aron, with his genteel but menacing demeanor, is intrigued by Bella's presence. He tests her by trying to read her mind but finds it impossible, frustrating him. He then orders his sister, Jane, to use her power to inflict pain on Bella, but even Jane fails to affect her. Aron, amused and perplexed, decides that Bella, who knows too much about vampires, is a liability and orders her execution by Felix. Edward tries to intervene but is overpowered by Felix. As Bella faces imminent death, she bravely offers her life in exchange for Edward's. Aron, astonished by her sacrifice, is both impressed and offended by her defiance, but before he can act, an unexpected turn of events occurs. Alice's successful prophecy about Bella becoming a vampire convinces Aron to spare her life, and he even expresses intrigue at the prospect of her transformation. As Bella, Edward, and Alice depart, Keyes warns them to uphold their promises, as the Volturi do not offer second chances. Exiting the Volturi chamber, Bella witnesses tourists being led to their demise by the vampires, a grim reminder of the dangers lurking in the supernatural world. The screams haunt her dreams until she wakes up back in her bedroom in Forks, with Edward by her side. Edward explains his past actions were driven by a desire to protect her, and he's interrupted by Charlie's entrance, who grounds Bella indefinitely. Despite the challenges ahead, Bella remains determined to become a vampire, prompting Edward to take her to the Cullen house. As they drive home, at the Cullen residence, Bella articulates her desire, prompting a pivotal vote among the vampire family members. Alice, expressing her deep bond, casts an affirmative vote, deeming Bella as akin to a sister. Jasper, grappling with his primal instincts, opts for a yes, foreseeing relief from the perpetual struggle against his natural urges. Rosalie, haunted by her own transformation and the lack of choice therein, reluctantly dissents, lamenting the potential imposition of vampiric existence upon another. Emmett, with characteristic enthusiasm, wholeheartedly endorses Bella's transition with a resounding, hell yeah. Esme, guided by her maternal instincts, echoes Alice's sentiment, viewing Bella as an integral part of their familial fabric and thus casting her vote in favor. However, the tension mounts as Carlisle, the family patriarch, approaches, bearing the weight of a crucial decision. Despite Edward's palpable anguish, Carlisle, torn between paternal duty and personal conviction, resolves to honor his son's steadfast commitment to Bella, thus casting his vote in support of her transformation, determined not to lose his beloved son. Jacob appears in the middle of the road, prompting Edward to stop the car. Edward acknowledges Jacob's protection of Bella and wants to express his gratitude. However, Jacob reminds them of the treaty's stipulation: if a Cullen bites a human, the truce is broken. Bella reaffirms her decision to become a vampire, but Jacob emphasizes the consequences for their relationship once she undergoes the transformation. As the tension between Jacob and Edward reaches its peak, Bella intervenes, expressing her love for both but pleading with Jacob not to force her to choose between him and Edward. Edward urges Bella to step away, further provoking Jacob's anger. In a display of dominance, Edward pushes Jacob away as he transforms into a wolf, and they stand face to face, ready to fight until Bella reminds them of the consequences of their actions. With Jacob retreating, Edward and Bella continue their discussion about her transformation. Edward proposes a timeline, asking Bella to wait for him to change her into a vampire. Initially suggesting 5 years, he bargains down to 3, but Bella remains steadfast, unwilling to wait any longer. Edward is impressed by her determination, recognizing her unwavering resolve. Then Edward makes a different proposal. "I have one condition," he says, "if you want me to do it myself. Marry me, Bella." She gasps. The screen fades to black.